As the leader of the Booner path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the fuck up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Booner, and Lucas. It is April 16th. It's Wednesday. It's the day of the doc. He's joining today, boys. And we're one day closer to the playoffs this weekend, which I'm excited for. I can't wait. We'll be live for it, watch party. Boys will be there. We'll have some bets on it. It'll be a great time. So I can't. We have the draft next week. So the next week, we got a lot of things planned. My God, I just lost my voice for a second there.
Hey, get some water. Get some water.
Yeah,
Take 5.
Boone,
Boone, you're muted too. Before you get ahead of yourself, Boone, you're muted.
Yeah, he's just talking into nothing right now. It's all right. He's just.
How ridiculous is this whole thing going on with me over here the last 48 hours? It's unbelievable. I thought you were going to say it's the Day of the Dead. We used to do that when I took Spanish class in high school. Shout out. Boys, can I know we got a lot of sports to talk about. Can I bring something to the table here real quick to start the show off?
What do you
I've been
got?
dealing with an injury the last week. Can I bring it up for the boys? Maybe someone in the chat has like a healing regimen or something for me. I've had, and this is going to sound, maybe it's going to sound like Booner, you're weak. I don't think it is because I feel the pain, and I usually, when I push through pain, I really don't care. I've had this neck issue, like sore, stiff, pinched nerve, something in my neck since last Thursday. I don't know what's happened. It was 10 out of 10 pain for 2 days. I couldn't move. It went away, boys. And this morning I wake up and guess what's back? The neck pain is back. The stiff neck is back. I can only turn like this. I put a little icy hot patch back here. If you boys can't see that, it's burning my neck right now. I don't know what to do, man. Like I feel like I can't sleep because I can't lay down without my neck. Anyway, it's like, oh my gosh, it's.
What type?
I haven't slept in a week.
What's your pillow situation looking like?
Yeah,
got two nice pillows. Maybe it's the pillows.
Are they super firm?
How do you sleep?
Soft?
How do you
I
sleep?
on my side. I roll over and go to sleep.
Like you're like
like that kind of.
Are you able to sleep on your back?
I probably couldn't fall asleep. I never have before, so I don't know.
I wonder. I've heard a lot of things about that, like maybe sleep position. If you're laying on your neck, would you sleep with 2 pillows? 2 pillows?
2 pillows, yeah.
I don't know what it's like. He's squirrel. I don't know what that was. If you sleep
I sleep with 2 pillows.
I only sleep, honestly, boys. I don't know if there's anyone out there like me. Probably is, but it's not a common thing from what I've noticed. But I only sleep with 1 pillow, and it's like thin.
Yeah, I know. I need to have like
I
some
only use
support.
1, just because it's like
support.
But yeah, I don't know.
Dude, it went away. Listen, Jeff, I think I was with you. We went to the Michigan Panthers game, or we did something Saturday or Sunday, and I was like, dude, my neck. Like, we watched UFC. We want to watch UFC, and I was like, I can't move my neck. Like, I couldn't move. And Sunday it went away. Monday it was gone. Tuesday it was gone, and then boom, Wednesday wake up, and it's like someone's out to kill me. I don't know.
I mean, you're almost. You're approaching.
I'm getting there. I'm not there. I'm still 26, 27. 27, I believe, is the number, the correct number.
It's like, wait, what? How old am I?
I'm 27 years old, which is old. That's like, oh, here we go.
You're not old, man. You're not old. You're fine. You're still in your prime. You know what I mean? You're still. I think you're DJ Reed, right? What's DJ
All
Reed?
right.
28, 29. He's fine. You'll be all right.
He's fine.
Yeah. I don't know why, too, in the chat, Dewey wants to know my first name. I don't get what's so intriguing about my first name. It's Booner.
You look on his birth certificate, it's just Booner.
There's no last name, no middle name, no first name.
Yeah. Middle name. There's no first, middle, last. It's
like Nene. Houston Rockets legend Nene.
Nene, yeah.
Yep.
Meta World Peace.
That's
3 names, actually.
Well, boys, we're going to get into some Pistons today, which I am excited about because we're going to talk Pistons the next couple of days, along with, obviously, Lions. The draft's a week away, and we posted some stuff today. Scott Bischoff breaking down different position groups. But I want to show. This is what's mind-boggling, and it happens. It's not like anyone's. It's just how the cards fall. But next week, Thursday, we'll be live at DraftKings Sports Social in Troy.
Shout out
for the entire first round of the NFL draft. So you can come out there if you're near the Troy area or you want to make the trip coming out with the fellas. Either way, do it because it'll be a lot of fun. But that same night, the Pistons play. You see it right there. 4:24 on Thursday. The Pistons play the Knicks. And listen, it's actually a great thing they're playing the playoffs. But it's not completely sad. But it sucks because the draft and Game 3 will be going on at the same time, and that'll be the first home game in Detroit. It'll be during the first round of the NFL draft, which is one of the biggest events in
brutal.
Like and that's the thing I've seen, and we were talking about this earlier, Boone. Like people on social media saying how the Pistons are being disrespected locally with media. And again, I can't speak for all media platforms, but I'll just say that it's hard to compete with one of the greatest events in sports. It just is. Like, you know what I mean? It's tough, but. Will the game be covered? I mean, on this channel, we're going to be busy. So, unfortunately, we'll on social media there'll be stuff out there, but like in terms of content,
I wouldn't say like though completely. Like we're going to have the game on, I'm sure there at draft.
We will, but
we'll have 2 screens and we're not. It's not like we're going to be like ignore that the Pistons are playing on our channel. Like we're not doing that. Like the Pistons game will be on in our area, and we will be watching it.
I'll be watching, but I'll also be watching to see if the Lions trade up.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude, are we gonna sit there and like talk like every single pick, every single second? I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be a little Pistons.
We literally will be. Yes.
Show.
So, but the point I'm making is this, man.
Don't talk Pistons Thursday night, boys. That's what I'm getting from Jeff right now.
No, it's
do
not
mention the Pistons.
Just the reality. I mean, you know how the guys we are a part of draft shows. We know how this goes. You're talking 24/7. I mean, you're talking about what's going on, what's happening, what could happen. Like it's just hard to just stop and be like the Pistons are. You know what I mean? Like it's just how it goes. Draft night's crazy night. It's one of my favorite nights of all time, and I love the Pistons, man. But the reality of this is, man, the NFL draft. Although the Lions and personally, like what do I love? Like it's obviously the Pistons playing in the playoffs. Like let's all agree there, right? It's a bigger thing than the Lions selecting at 28. It just is. But as an event, I mean, you're starting at what? They don't have a time announced for it, but
it's probably like 7:30.
Yeah, which that's exactly when the draft starts. So
it's gonna coincide for sure.
Yeah,
it'll be side by side.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, I'm going to say this. I'm not doing what Jeff's going to do. If I'm on stream and the Pistons make something happens, I will mention it for the people. So if someone was watching the Pistons games and wants to turn our draft party on, you could do both. You know what I mean? Like it's a 2-in-1. It's a 2-in-1 thing. Am I wrong?
I agree with you, Boone. There's no. I think it'd honestly even be better if we wear some Pistons stuff to the event. You know what I mean? Like we're obviously be cheering for the Lions, but the Pistons,
all of my Pistons hat on and my Lions.
Yeah, come on,
my Crunch Time Lions.
Jeff,
gear.
you're the biggest Pistons fan out of all of us right now.
I mean, Jeff just
just
basically said zero Pistons on the show.
I'm not trying to like Hollywood you right now, but we've been a part of this, right? We know how. Trust me, you say that now, but when we get in there and we have. I mean, trust me, buckle in.
I mean, there are 5 minutes in between each pick. I'm telling you, there's going to be 10 seconds.
And we're covering the pick.
There will be 10 seconds to where we could be like, oh, Pistons are up 10 right now. All right, back to the draft show.
Okay.
Oh, Stu, what a play, beef, Stu! Bang! All right. Oh, Cowboys just drafted Ashton Gentry. Bang! Oh, wow.
It hurts.
It
hurts.
It's content.
Hey, we're pros. I mean, we're good at our jobs.
It'll be a crazy night. I can't wait. The draft's fun, man. It just is. It's constant. Things are happening, and the draft's one of the best events in sports, man. It sucks.
It is.
Play their first home game. So, but regardless,
it'll be fun. I'm pumped up for the draft. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, it's one of my personal. I love the NFL draft. It's a lot.
I don't get, honestly. I think the biggest thing with that, I don't get why the NBA would just try and compete with the NFL. Like, like the NFL draft is not just one of the biggest NFL days of the year. It's one of the biggest sports days of the year. So it's just weird. Like, hey, when you're doing your calendar, line it up maybe to where there's one day off in the playoffs, and it's the NFL draft day, just so like TV ratings and fan bases, things like that, doesn't have to worry about it. It is different for us because this is the first time in how long? Like since 2015, 16, since the Pistons have been in the playoffs. And even then, like, we have to worry about the Lions are good now. So it's like it coincides. So it's just I think teams have dealt with this every year in fan bases. We're just kind of getting the first time it's happening for us.
It's a good problem to have.
New York that they will at least get one win. They'll lose to the Pistons, of course, but they'll win by passing on Shedeur Sanders and taking either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, number 3 overall. So at least the city will get one win, and maybe they take Tyler Warren, the Jets, 7th overall. Be a great day for the city of New York, even if the Knicks lose.
I hope as soon as Shedeur Sanders gets drafted, wherever he does, Cade hits a 3 and Jeff's in the middle of his monologue about Shedeur, and I just
he would be getting mad that you're hyping up.
He would get so mad.
Why are we talking about Cade Cunningham in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I'm not just saying this because I just hate the Pistons. Obviously, I love the Pistons. It's just, man, it sucks. But the next home game we'll be able to cover. I mean, the next game is at 2 days later, or excuse me, on Sunday. Yeah, 3 days later. So, and there's nothing happening on Sunday, so that'll be good. It's 1:00 too, so that'll be awesome.
Rolex Flex coming soon.
Can you pull that back up? What's Shift God's profile?
It's Isaiah Stewart.
Okay.
Isaiah Stewart. I love that. That is that's funny as hell. All right. Well, speaking of the playoffs, the storyline with Cade, we already know what Cade is at this point in his career, right? He's a superstar. I said he's a top 10 player. I think he is top 10 player in the NBA. He's going to be an all-NBA first team, I think, or second team. He's going to be on an all-NBA team, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. He'll be on some all-NBA team. But the big thing, especially when you tune into guys in national media that, former players, a big thing they harp on is, especially for a superstar player, is what do you do in the postseason? How do you perform? I think this playoff series, although the Pistons, I think, overachieved even beyond my expectations this season, the reality is for Cade to be respected among those type of circles, you have to go out and perform at a high level. I'm not just talking about winning the series, but he has to really – winning the series is important, but he also has to play well, because if he doesn't, they're going to look at Cade and just the reality. I'm not saying locally, but I'm saying nationally and maybe some locally. We certainly won't. But they're going to look at Cade and say, okay, great player. What's up with that? You've had moments like Anthony Edwards with the Timberwolves. Like Anthony Edwards popped into the playoffs and you got to see him on a big stage, a win series, play extremely well, be the best player in that series, and shine. That's my expectation for Cade against the Knicks, and especially in Madison Square Garden, one of the biggest stages. And when you really read Twitter and go and look at guys, analysts, they're looking at the series as one of their favorite series. Everyone's going to be tuned into it. So not only is it important for the Pistons to go out and win, but Cade to play well and let everyone know that doesn't already know that he's here to stay. And he's an actual superstar that teams and maybe other players are going to look at and be like, okay, even though he's got respect, but look at him and be like, man, Detroit's building something special over there. That's what they're going to see.
Yeah, I would say too, like, Cade Cunningham's already a star in the league. Like, I think that's solidified and people know that. And if you look at, all NBA voting we put out there, like Kendrick Perkins put his first team out there and had Cade Cunningham this year. He's top 10 in scoring and top 5 in assists. He's up there in rebounds, steal, like everything, shooting. Like, he's had a hell of a year. I think, like, to that point, Jeff, like, you go into this series and I kind of look at it around all of the NBA right now. Like a guy like SGA, who's probably going to win MVP, but still has stuff to prove in the playoffs. Has never won in the playoffs and gone on a run. The Rockets with that young team, with those guys, they have just basically a team of your very good young players. And there's a lot of teams around the NBA right now that have that young star, those young stars who are like, hey, I'm trying to take that first step. I think with Cade, you go into this New York series, and I think it's like win or loss. If he goes out there and performs and averages like 30 a game, 30, 10, and 8 a game, which he could do, especially in the playoffs, he's going to be playing almost every minute. If he goes out there and does that, I think there's a world, and correct me if I'm wrong, boys, there's a world where Cade Cunningham in the next month comes out of that as a top 7 player in the NBA. And you could argue when he's at his best. Like, I know Klotz, I know we were talking about top 10 a while back, but when you just look at the statistics and what he's done on a team that had 14 wins last year, and it's not like he has like a second star on his team like most of these guys do. It is Cade Cunningham. Like, when we go to the game and watch the game, he's the one that takes over games. He's the one, if you need a bucket, you get it to him, everyone clears out. In the playoffs, how is that going to work? Are they going to try and double him? What are they going to do? But like at the end of the day, if he goes out there and wins 2 or 3 games in the playoffs versus in MSG versus the Knicks and is averaging 30 plus, he turns into a superstar because you start putting his stats next to the other great players in the league right now, and they're all up there. And if he starts winning in the playoffs, it's like, hey, this guy's there. He's top 7 in the NBA, and he's working his way up to be one of the best players in the NBA, if not at points the best. So I think this is a big thing, and a big number one thing that this helps with, and I actually heard it today. I think it might have been Rico Beard that was talking about it, and he brought up a great point. You show the NBA something over these next few weeks, and that you can compete, and you're ready to take a championship step. Think about the free agencies. Think about the players this offseason who are going to say, I want to go to Detroit. Remember last year, boys? There were people that they tried to call and they would ignore. They saw 313, they would ignore the calls. This year, it would be different. They're going to look at it and say, I want to go compete with Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren and Tobias and those guys. So I think this is more of an important series than people think, especially for the future of this franchise and this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the matchup too, I talked to the reason why it's like, yeah, Cade Cunningham is absolutely somebody that could reach top 10 status in this league, and he's right on the bubble of it. I just want to see him in the playoffs. And I think with how the Knicks and the Pistons match up, it's the perfect way because, one, to your guys' point, he's going to be in the spotlight playing at MSG, but 2, it's who he's going up against. Jalen Brunson and Cade Cunningham. Jalen Brunson was his all-team second NBA last year, and he shined in the playoffs. I believe he had 2 40-point games. So for Cade to go up against that caliber of point guard on the other side, because Jalen Brunson defensively is very solid too. Like, he's just a very good all-around point guard. So if Cade can shine against him, and then you add in Karl Anthony Towns, Tom Thibodeau, there's a lot of ways where you can just look at Cade. To your point, Booner, I think 7 might be a little rich, but let's see what he does before we say anything. But if he can go out there against this team and ball out and take this Pistons team who had 14 wins last year to the second round of the playoffs, and then if they steal a game or 2 against Boston, most likely who they'd be matching up with, I mean, enough said right there. There's no even top 7, you can have that conversation. Top 10, it won't be one because he's solidified himself.
Solidified. I love that you came around a little bit.
Hey, Boone, all I want to, that's the only reason, because I look at like Cade Cunningham. I think right now he's same tier as Jalen Brunson. The reason I would lean Jalen Brunson as of now is because his playoff performances. Yeah, he didn't win the series, but you saw like in that moment, he was able to step up. Not saying that Cade Cunningham can't do it. We just haven't seen it yet. So once he does it,
that's fair.
All good.
That's why I look at, and I don't know about you boys, like when I look at the best players in the league, I typically look at like the points first because that's like the dudes that are getting buckets and those are like the superstars in the league. And when you look at it, like Cade's 7th behind like Kevin Durant, he's right there with Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant basically. Mm-hmm. Anthony Edwards, Jokic, Giannis, SGA, like Jalen Brunson's behind him. And I look at it and I go, why is Cade not talked about as a top 5 player? Like, you can argue it. And I think it's, if he goes out there and is averaging 30 plus in the playoffs and say they win a series, I think there's people who can like sit there and have a legit like leg for an argument of him being top 5. And that's like, you're stretching it. But then I think at that point, it's like, he's right on the fringe. So he's 6th, 7th, 8th. And that's like a no brainer.
Yeah, I think that it's really with superstars in general. I mean, Jason Tatum has always been a great player, but Jason Tatum also got a lot of flack because he didn't perform in the playoffs and they didn't translate, and they didn't make it. They made the finals and finally got over the hump eventually. He didn't win finals MVP, ironically, but that was the big thing with that Celtics team is they always lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. And that's going to be a thing with other players. Like, there's steps, right? You turn into a superstar, you start breaking out, You get the league's notice, and then they go, well, let's see if you can do it in the postseason. Then you win a series, and then it's like, okay, he can, or 2 series, whatever. And then after about 2 years, it's like, okay, but can he win a finals? Is he a winning player?
Yeah.
Like Anthony Edwards, I promise you, he's going to get to that point in the next couple. Like they're going to start looking at him like, can you build a championship around him? That's always like the next step. So the first step for Cade, he's at the step of, can you win in the playoffs? And I think, I don't know if 7 games would be enough. I think he'd get respect, but I think to solidify it would be a win. If they win the series, that would be like, okay, they beat the higher seed. Cade was the best player in the series. The dude's here to stay. Like, and you look at some of the guys that are above him on like points per game you were bringing, or players just ranked above him. If we did a top 10 list, all those players at some point won in the playoffs. It's just how it goes, man. Like even those top guys, like even the guys that didn't get a ring. I mean, Luka got there and balled all the way through, and he's not Luka, but you get my point.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'll say this
I'm not saying
too.
you go to the finals, but win a series.
I think if you win a series, I think it's just like for what he's doing in this game, like it finally shows like this is that next step in his career. Because there are those questions like, what can he do? Can he get to that next step? Is he a superstar? Like right now, he's a star in the league. He's an all-star. He's probably going to be first team all NBA. Like he is in that conversation, but it's like, are you on the level of Jason Tatum? Are you on the level of the Jalen Brunson? What the Devin Booker was at a point? Like, can you get to that level? And that's where I think this, like, it's an important, in my opinion, like this is an important playoff series for the man, and for the Pistons in general to be able to take that next step. And I'll clarify too with Tyler, just so I'm not typing in the chat all this, but like, and I think maybe you boys misunderstood me or understood. I don't know if you guys understood what I was saying. I'm not saying if he goes out there, he's automatically locked in to be a top 5 player. But when you talk about like, hey, these are top 5 players in the NBA, these are top 10. How many times do you boys go around to people? Because when I'm at work in different spots, like there's people like Jalen Brunson's in there. Oh, Jason Tatum's in there. And I'm like, take Jason Tatum out. Like there's these arguments of guys on the 4th through like 8th spot where depending on who you are, you'll say, hey, give me him, right? Like that's my point with Cade Cunningham, to where if he takes that next step here over the next 2 or 3 weeks in his career and he does what we think he can do, he puts himself in those conversations for those 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th players, to where there's going to be people walking around Detroit making arguments. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm making the argument top 5, but you're going to run into someone going forward being like, hey, Cade's a top 5 guy in this league. And it's going to happen. And that's if he goes out there, puts up 30 and 10, and he gets a series win. People did it with Trae Young a couple years ago. They were like, he's one of the best in the league. And then what did he do? Fell off a little bit. But that conversation,
kind of.
Yeah, Dame, those conversations come up. They do come up. I'm not saying he's a lock top 5, but he's right there on the fringe.
He would be like, I would say, fringe is probably more fair. I think if you want to really have an argument for top 5, I'm not saying this year, but because I don't think it's realistic, but in the future, they beat Boston and he plays and he has 30 a game, something like that. He averages 30 in this series. They beat Boston. They make a conference finals. Like then you could be like, well, he beat Jason Tatum. I mean, I think right now he's top 10. And to your point, Boone, if he balls out in the series and they beat the Knicks, I mean, you might be like, that boy might be like top 7. I mean, top 8.
And if you're top 7, there are people who will make arguments that he's in the top 5, and that's the point.
Yeah, I get that.
And I won't, but like me, I
wouldn't.
And then my point, like just like Jason Tatum, this is a great example. He won a championship. I don't consider him a top 5 player in the NBA, and I've been consistent with that. He's a fringe top 5, but I just think to get to that level, he has to take another step. And people are like, "Oh, he's taking that step." I just personally, I don't think he is, but I think Cade could get past that level. And I think if he does what we think he could do this postseason, he starts to get put in that Jason Tatum level where you're like, okay, there he goes. I know a lot of people think he's Jason Tatum's top 5. I can't do it. The man like Jalen Brunson. He needed Jalen Brunson. Look what Jalen Brunson
does Jason Tatum need to do?
I don't know, man.
What is that? What
do it without Jalen Brunson?
Oh, you mean Jalen Brown?
Jalen Brown. Sorry, Jalen Brown. I apologize.
Yeah, but the left hand of Jalen Brown always shows in the playoffs, and who's there? I mean,
it didn't last year. Won a championship on Jalen Brown's shoulders.
I think
that
was not Jason. Jaylen Brown
I know
won
Jason
finals
Tatum
MVP.
in the finals. I understand, but Tatum during that playoff run was.
So I think if we did top 5, I would have no order. I would have you put Jokic in SGA.
SGA.
Yep. Luka, and then you'd probably go 5.
I think you got to put Ant in that conversation. Doesn't have to be 5, but I still think.
I would.
I'm sorry. You got to, in my opinion, put Tatum.
Giannis.
Yeah.
Giannis.
Did I say Giannis?
Yeah, we said Giannis.
Giannis, Luka, SGA, Jokic, and Anthony Edwards. I mean, this is the point that this is exactly okay. This proves my point of the.
I would put Tatum,
5.
but if you don't agree,
there's the fringe top 5 and Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brunson, Kevin Durant, still kind of. You could argue Steph Curry. I know he doesn't average a lot of points, but who
KD.
He is, KD, yeah. Like there's that fifth through 8th spot, 5th through 9th spot, interchangeable to me. And I think if Cade, that's the spot where I think Cade could get to if he wins the playoff series. And he goes crazy, like 30 and 10.
And to J Hart's point, which by the way, J Hart, appreciate the $5. He says, sick. I'll be at the games watching the Pistons whoop ass. Section 105 drinks on me till tip off. Pistons in 6. Love that, J Hart. And he also said, y'all looking at it from a standpoint of guys who are surrounded by other guys with max contracts. Cade is doing this alone, so to speak, and has provided
J Hart
making the playoffs besides Joker. He doesn't have another 20-point score. So the big thing for him. Not for him, but for the Pistons, is you know what Cade's going to do, and you know what the Knicks defensively are going to do. They're going to trap him. They're going to throw double teams at him. They're going to, I'm not going to say they're going to play like, so they're not going to completely disrespect everyone on the perimeter because they know what Malik Beasley can do and Tim Hardaway, if he's shooting the ball well, what he can do. Hopefully he is.
The opposite of last year in the playoffs, hopefully.
Yes. Tobias Harris, another one. That's the guy. Yeah, another. Speaking of the playoffs, that's probably
point on that one, please.
Yeah, the donut that he put up. He's gonna have to shoot the ball well, but also just.
Oh my gosh!
But the reality is, it's about Cade, the bigger storyline. But to win it, it's got to be about those guys. Those guys have to knock down shots. Like Malik Beasley is probably he's second now. Anthony Edwards, speaking to him, passed him in total 3-pointers made. And he didn't even start. He was coming off the bench. He's going to be integral in this series. If he's hot, if he's shooting 3-4 threes a game on like 10, 11 attempts, that dude's going to change how, especially defensively, the Knicks are going to look at this thing. It's like, okay, well, Malik's going to knock down shots. And if Tim Hardaway's knocking down shots, the jumper looks nice. Maybe Isaiah Stewart sprinkles a 3 in there. You got guys knocking down shots on the perimeter. You got Cade driving to the basket. Maybe Duran's playing with energy, playing good defense. Like these guys have to be knocking down shots, man. Because if they get into this streak where, maybe Malik and Tobias and Tim Hardaway and these other guys, kind of these role players, not to disrespect them, but I don't know what you'd call them besides that, like high-level role players, whatever. Contributors. If they're not shooting the ball well, like you're putting Cade in a predicament here because you don't have as much spacing on the floor. You're putting this man in like a superhero, put on a superhero cape and go get 30, 35, 40. And to me, it's tough to do. So, and they're a really good defensive team and Jalen Brunson's going to knock down shots. There's going to be times where Jalen Brunson, he might have a game where he has 30, 40 points. But you also have Michael, you also have OG, Josh Hart. Like these guys can guard, man. Like they have dudes that can, length, size. That's what I'm worried about. But if they're spacing out, they're knocking down shots, man. Like especially early in that game in New York, like early knocking down shots, or feeling it, confidence. I'm gonna feel good. But Karl-Anthony Towns, real quick, Karl-Anthony Towns is baby food. He is dog food. He's gonna get. Jalen Duran's going to put that man in a jail cell and throw away the key.
Hey, Jeff, I don't think you saw it because it was in our social chat. This dude Klotz put out a video of Karl-Anthony Towns, and he thought it was like a video making fun of Karl-Anthony Towns.
All like the sus moments.
Yeah.
Because it starts out as one.
Klotz just watches the first 10 seconds of the video and posted it like, this guy's dog food. They were about to destroy him. Me and Caleb threw the video out on Twitter. Or there's people like commenting on it. Like, what is this video? It's once you get about 10 seconds in, it's about 10 clips of Karl Anthony Towns posterizing people and like hitting like fadeaway threes. It was like, Klotzy, bro, did you realize the video you just put up? And he goes, oh, no. People were like commenting on it, like, why do you guys just post Karl Anthony Towns banging on people? No, it was funny. I am a little worried. That was probably one of the funnier things I've ever seen.
I selfishly, what I want to see is, I know JB leads the league and like for coaches and techs, and I know he can, he'll let them know. I think that'll wind down. But two players like Karl Anthony Towns, man, that dude he can get rattled pretty quickly.
Oh, quick.
So Jalen Brunson, like I've seen times where he's bitching all the time at the referees. Like, if early on these refs are missing a couple calls here, or there maybe, and it's the playoffs, they're gonna let guys play. You could probably rattle this Knicks team, man, a little bit.
I'm a little, and I know we had this conversation the other day about it, and I was like, hey, it is the playoffs. They let them play. I think game one, we're going to find out Saturday, the first probably hour by 7 p.m. on Saturday. We're going to find out, I think, who wins this series. Because if the refs right away are like letting these boys play a little bit and it's a little bit of a physical game, then I think it's the Pistons series to take. But I think if the Pistons start getting into foul trouble and they're trying to be a physical and the refs, some reason, some I don't know why they would in the playoffs, but try and be like, we're stepping in, we're not going to let this happen, then I think it kind of turns into, okay, this is going to be a long series for the boys because, potentially Cade foul trouble, Asar foul trouble, Isaiah Stewart foul trouble, Jalen Duren foul trouble. And if you start getting into that, it's tough. Like, in my opinion, you might not be as deep as this Knicks team when you're talking about talent. So you need those guys, in my opinion, on the floor. Like, you really do.
I can't wait. By the way, Lucas's mock, he's excited about it. Tomorrow,
we're doing it today.
No, we need more time. It's actually a compliment to your mock, Klotzy.
Yeah,
I mean, you would have to squeeze this thing out in 15 minutes, and I would rather wait till tomorrow.
I mean, it's a flawless mock.
We'd have to squeeze it out in 10 minutes. We want to give Klotzy 15 minutes. That's the point. Klotz, could you do it in a 7-minute span?
I think so.
Well, no, I know.
I want the full.
I know. I'm gonna pick it apart.
I want the full experience. I got 10, 15 minutes to do mine. Klotz or Jeff got his. You'll get yours tomorrow.
And then next week we don't have. We are doing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday 2.0s.
We do have a problem. So. We had something that's came across my desk. The Detroit Pistons play Monday night. Mock draft. Final mock draft Monday though.
Maybe we do it Tuesday.
He didn't account for that.
Yeah, I didn't. In my brain. Because let's hear this out. Mock draft Monday. We have
Tuesday's usually draft. That lull anyway.
You have but you got to understand. Draft is Thursday, so Doc Wednesday. When are we going to do our mock draft 2.0? We can't do them all in one show. It's too much. We'll hit overdrive. Brains will explode.
We'll figure it
out. And we have we just had to talk that out a little bit because next week's packed, boys. Like, I'm pumped up. I'm genuinely a little like, let's go, boys.
Yeah, no, it'll be. We'll figure it out with mock draft. I mean, mock drafts and Pistons playoffs. We'll figure something out. We'll definitely do both. Just maybe not Monday, because that's a good point, Boone.
Yeah, I thought of it just the other day, or today
when it'll be mock draft Tuesday. It doesn't flow as well.
Maybe we start an hour early on Monday and we do mock drafts right into the Pistons game. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming.
Yep. Well,
people are seeing behind the scenes and how my brain works.
Yeah, we'll do like Pistons watch party. They just join. I'm like ranting about Shadur or something.
Yeah. He's not halftime. Our Pistons halftime show is Mock Draft Monday.
Well, we have the doc in about 10 minutes. And before he joins, he wrote an article on pre-draft questions for Lions GM Brad Holmes. Well, he didn't, but Christian did. But it's on, I'm sure Doc, he looked through it, he approved it. But Christian did a really good job. But it's 4 questions he would ask Brad Holmes. And questions that he probably will answer at some point during the draft. And the first question of the hypothetical scenario here is, and I actually like this question, to ask Brad Holmes after the draft, how does he feel about paying 2 receivers hefty contracts? Okay. Love this question. How do you feel, Brad? You open to it? Pre-draft, right? Like, then he'll be like, then you'll figure out, is this Matthew Golden thing? Could this actually happen? Or are you going to pay J-Mo? So I like that. It's a good question.
Yeah, no, there's no way that I think Brad Holmes is able to pay 2 receivers at once. I don't see it happening.
I think this has turned into this question. Has turned into what's so funny, Klotz?
Let's keep moving. Keep moving.
I think this has turned into one of the bigger topics of the offseason, to be honest. We thought it was going to be the edge room. All right, I can't keep this moving. I can't. I'd be a pro, Booner. Be a pro. Yeah.
No, you're not a pro. So what happened? Just explain. Tell me.
I don't know. That's
what happened?
Klotz is dying over there, man.
What happened?
You know, do you ever just think of situations in your head and like you just makes you laugh out loud? Intrusive thoughts.
What's the situation?
You were laughing too, Boone. What was your situation?
No, I was laughing because he couldn't stop laughing, and I'm trying to keep a straight face. I'm trying to push through because I had what I wanted to say about this. And Klotz is just going off on a. Sometimes I'm ADHD. Sometimes it's hard for me to push through.
You see what I deal with, chat? See what I deal with.
Klotz, can you explain? Share it with the class. Share with the class.
I was zoned out. I was zoned out, and I just what zoned me back in. I just hear Jeff go, "You feel me, Brad?" And it just made me laugh. It really wasn't that funny. That's why I was it wasn't that funny. But in the moment, it made me laugh so much. I was like, "What the fuck did I just hear?"
I don't know if that was really it.
Move,
I think he had more on that one, but it's okay. And I'll say this though with that question. Again, I'm locked back in. I don't think people expected Jameson Williams to be like the front end story of the NFL draft in the Lions offseason, to be honest. And it's popped up over the last kind of week or so where it's like, what's going on with J-Mo? Like, this become a real story in the wide receiver thing. I mean,
yeah, this is tough.
What are we doing here?
I know this. It's just at this point, it's like
I'm trying to lock in, boys.
Okay, let's just move on to the next one. The next question for Brad Holmes is: are the additions at cornerback enough for the Lions to not add in the draft? Because they met with Maxwell Hairston. These are actually 2 really good questions. I hope maybe Doc is just firing these away or something. Like, someone should ask these. So. Will the additions at corner be enough? I don't know. If I'm being honest. What do I think? I would think they wouldn't draft a corner. I would think they wouldn't. But who knows?
If they draft we talked about this the other day. If they draft a corner in the first, in my opinion, first 2 rounds, that would be bad. You feel me, Brad? Like that would be a tough look. In my opinion.
Brad? Come on.
Like they've done their job, bringing Rocky Sin in, Avonte Maddox, Amik Robertson last year, drafted Terrion Ennis, bringing DJ Reed. Like, they have built this room up. You know what it kind of tells me, Jeff? You said it the other day, like that it shows that they missed on Ennis. I don't even think it just shows that they missed on Ennis. If they get another corner in the first round, that shows that Brad doesn't feel like he built a good enough corner room. And like, he's the one that built this room up over the last year. Like, he went and got DJ Reed. He drafted Terrion. He got Amik. He went and got Avonte Maddox. He got Rocky Sin. So if he feels like he needs to draft a corner in the first round to add to this room, obviously, in my opinion, you just didn't do, good enough of a job building this room. Like, that's
I think to add to your point, I when I say that, I mean an early corner.
First 2 rounds, in my opinion.
Yeah,
After that, pregame, 3rd round, 4th, 5th, 6th.
Because if they take a nickel in round 4 or 5, whatever, it's like maybe he could be a Amik Robertson replacement. Like, I won't be mad at that.
Yeah, I think first 2 rounds. I think that's the cutoff.
Yeah,
like,
Like
the Maxwell Hairston thing. Like, I saw another mock draft today. I think it was CBS or something. I can't remember the exact publication, but guess what? They had the Lions taking Maxwell Hairston. It's like, what are we doing? Like, that's we're not drafting Matt. Like if they did that, I would be again. I would throw my computer. I'd probably snap it in half.
Yeah, because it's just I don't understand why you wouldn't give Ennis Rakestraw the chance to develop at least. Like I understand that he was dealing with injuries, but if you're just throwing the towel in after a year with Ennis Rakestraw where you really didn't even get to see him, I think that in itself is a mistake because if he pans out to be a solid player in the NFL, now you just completely waste a second round pick, not a third, fourth, like a second round pick. So it would just be disappointing. I wouldn't see the vision in it either because at the end of the day, like if you're drafting a guy in the second round this year, and he's your fourth corner, expecting like he's a rookie cornerback in the second round. He's not going to start over Terrion Arnold, Meek Robertson, or DJ Reed most likely. Like especially like if he starts in front of Terrion, that's where serious red flags are raised. But I don't see that happening. So again, it's like where's the vision in this pick?
Well, the next question he asks is, let me see, is more young offensive depth needed?
Yeah,
offensive line depth needed.
I feel like this should be across the board. Yes,
and then shout out Giovanni Manu.
Shout out.
But no, I'm just kidding.
Do we? All right. Hold on. I just want to ask a question after you say that. On a scale of 1 to 10, and Jeff, this is being non-biased. I know you like him.
Okay.
Non-biased. Take Christian Mahogany away because I think he would be a 10 out of 10. How much faith do you actually have in a Giovanni Manu and Colby Sorsdale? Both of them combined. 1 out of 10.
But you're attaching stank to.
Yep, like, 1 out of 10. I'm talking about the young talent that we have.
Can I do Gio and Colby?
No, it's
damn.
To me,
I gotta group them together.
That's why I'm doing it. It's your young talent, because Christian Mahogany is going to be a starter. We know what he is. It's your young talent that you drafted the last 2 years.
Feels like a setup.
That you're. I know. I genuinely want to know because
Colby Sorsdal weighs it down a lot. He weighs it. I mean, I'm gonna give a low grade because it's him. He stinks.
The question
I don't think he'll ever start. Those are
your two depth pieces.
With
right
Colby attached, it's low. I mean, he's ass. If he was on his own, I would say 0. So where does that put Gio? I'd probably say like 6 with Gio.
And there's no way.
What's the balance?
There's no way on God's green earth you would give him a 6 out of 10.
3.
This is insane.
Buddy, he hasn't played
like
a snap.
Colby at least in his year 1, he went to William & Mary, so he didn't play Division 1. He at least got out there.
And how'd that work out?
So if he's like that, what do you think Gio is right now?
You got to give Gio like a 3 or a 4 or 4. You cannot go over a 5. I like Gio too, and I've said I think there's a chance Gio plays like Jeff. You can't give a guy over a 5 if you haven't even seen him play. You haven't seen him touch the field.
Fine, 5. It's 1 less.
I hate that. Still,
does that make you happy?
4 would be a lot better.
No, I'm not.
My answer would be a solid 2.
That's just
for you.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous. It's like any position. Like I'm not going to say I have faith in Sione Vaki being a starting running back because you haven't seen him play starting running back yet.
Dan Campbell mentioned him potentially playing some guard and didn't even mention Colby Sorsdal.
That's not the argument. That is a different argument and different conversation for a different day, bud.
But I'm saying Dan mentioned him.
Yeah,
so
good.
I think there's some like not saying Dan said he's going to be great, but at least they're like, hey, you know.
That's why he's at a 4 instead of a 0, like Colby.
Average it out. Gives you
if we got to see Gio play like let's say a couple drives last year in the regular season and got to get just an idea of where he's at, by all means, if you thought hey those drives were good, throw the man.
He's out there on PAT.
Does Dan Campbell's word mean anything to you?
No, it does. That's why it's at a 4.
That's why
it
boosted a little bit for me.
Okay, 4. I haven't seen him at all, so it would be under.
So you give him a 4. I would go 5, 6. I like Colby. I like Giovanni.
Clip that.
And I think if it's about saying a certain position, guard, tackle, wherever.
Do you think Giovanni Manu re-signs with the Detroit Lions at the end of his 4 years?
I mean, we're in year 2, boy.
Yeah,
I understand.
I mean, guys, it's like, what are we?
I understand. So he's going to be developing again this year, and he gets 2 more years after that. He's got to be a starter year 3.
Do I think if there's an injury, there's a chance he can go in and play? Yes, I do.
That's fair. And then as soon as we see him on the field, then I'll be able to tell you if he goes from a 4 to a 6 for me.
So you're a wait. I need to see it guy. I want to get ahead of it guy.
Well, I would say that the history of football is stacked against Giovanni Manu right now. And I think history repeats itself more than it is broken. I don't know if I'm trying to think because he didn't even come from the CFL now. Like he wasn't playing in the CFL. He's playing college. I'm trying to think of like true Canadian football players, not Kyle Hamilton, who ended up going to Notre Dame, or Eric Aomanor. Like, he's going up against probably like 99%, hey, this isn't going to work out. So when I see that, yeah, I'm probably going to say 99% of the chance that, yeah, it's not going to work out with Colby or Giovanni Manu.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. What do you want me to say back to that? It's your opinion.
And it doesn't have to be like, that's just where I stand on it.
And that's fair. That's fair. You know what?
That was such a wild response.
Yeah, you know what? That's your response. That's how you think, and that's fine. You know, I'm not saying that Giovanni Manu prevents you from adding anyone, but I think you need to find maybe a Colby replacement. Can we talk about that? Like, I think at this point, I'm pretty
fair.
Seen enough. So I'm not saying don't add anyone. I'm just saying like I'm excited for Gio. I want to see what.
And to your point, just like you said, you take Dan's word on it. If you're talking about a Colby replacement, as of right now, it's Gio.
Yeah,
because like you said, Dan said they're going to try him at guard. So there you go.
So they still draft someone. You know, I don't know. It could be higher, could be a little mid rounds or something, but who knows? The next thing Christian writes here is, how seriously will the team entertain trading up or down on draft night? Which honestly, at first, boys, for the first couple months, I mean, we were harping on trading up, and I think we're all on board with that still. But now it's a real conversation that there's a chance, and I said it, that the Lions maybe won't even be picking on the first night. So I'm in anything could happen at this point.
2 first-round picks.
Or 2 first-round picks, you said.
Boone stagnant on that. I respect it, Boone, because it'd be very aggressive. I think it, and I know this might be a cop-out answer, but I think it depends on how the board falls, because I think there's guys who, we talk about Jalen Walker, Jahad Campbell, not saying the Lions have interest, but Shadur Sanders. There's a ton of these guys that were like, they could go 5th to 10 overall, or they can be falling in the 20s. So I think Brad's going to be sitting there at 28, kind of seeing how that board falls. If there's 4 or 5 guys that they like, I could see them sitting at 28. But if they're going to trade up or down in this draft, what's more likely? I mean, I'm not ruling out a trade up, but in this draft particularly, I think they would trade back more likely to. But I think it's more likely that they move and don't. But if the board falls a certain way, I could see them say, hey, we're going to sit here. There's 2 or 3 guys that we like.
So before Doc joins, Mally Mall.
There we go, Mally.
Shout out.
Cowboys fan.
Yep. Appreciate you. Thank you for that. Let's bring on a legend.
Former America's team.
This is America's sports writer. America's the face of, a face of a lot of things. Face of Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, which we were just reading and reacting to. The franchise. The DOC. Spam the doc emotes. Spam the doc emojis. Only available to members, by the way. Let's bring him in. Mr. John Maakaron. Welcome in, John. How you doing?
What's up, fellas? What's happening? It's a great Wednesday. Look, I want to apologize for the male gender. I mean, baseball has never been the same since the sideline reporter got those digits. The world has ended. Men being men. Man, listen, I want to humbly apologize for the toxic masculinity you're going to listen to for the next hour. But guess what? The DOC's here. Let's go.
Yeah. Doc came in hot, man. Came in hot, Doc.
Listen. I am the definition of toxic masculinity. Let's enjoy guys being guys. And listen, a great book that's right over my shoulder. I want to get it right now, real fast. I'm going to take 3 seconds. All right.
1, 2, 3.
One hell of a shuttle time,
will change your guys' life. All right. And it happened. It literally happened well before this beautiful, well-spoken author wrote it. Adam Carolla wrote a book, and he wrote it in let's see when he wrote
50 this. 50 years we'll all be chicks.
In 50 years, we'll all be chicks. He wrote this maybe 15 years ago, and he said, there is an attack on masculinity that everybody wants guys to start acting like women. And he's like, guys used to do so many different things. He's like, I can't believe I walk around town and guys can't change tires anymore. And he's just a great, listen, the founding godfather of true podcasting. And it happened now. people don't want guys to be guys. What are you talking about? A baseball guy, a sideline reporter having some fun, getting some digits is taking flack from who? Jealousy. Because, we can't do the same thing. No, you can't do the same thing because there's men and there's women, and women don't do those kind of things on the air. Men, you can have a little fun with it. That's just the way it is. But it's a great book. Listen, get some perspective before you opine on these things. But, it didn't take 50 years for us to be chicks.
No, you're absolutely correct about everything you said, Doc. And actually, speaking of, the other side, just real quick, Kay Adams did it to Shams, and we laughed.
Yeah.
Funny.
So
Kay Adams flirted with Shams repeatedly, and no one had a problem with it. So
it's not that serious.
It's not a big deal. Stop being soft. It's fine.
We're talking
to adults.
Not that big a deal.
Yeah, Jesus, get over it. People just love complaining and it's just how it is. But Doc, that's why I love it. What an entrance by a legend. Doc, let me pick your brain though, because we have I'm going to bring up an article actually later that you put out yesterday, and I think it'll be a good conversation. But I'll start with now 8 days until the NFL draft. How do you feel today, Doc, as we get closer? Just your overall excitement, maybe some expectations, how you think it's going to go down. I know you're going to have a busy day for Sports Illustrated, but what are you feeling 8 days now away from the NFL draft?
Yeah, no doubt. I can't wait to get the poll real fast of you guys. I cannot change a tire. That's how embarrassing it is for me. I'm not handy, but it's because I am left-brained or whatever. I'm creative. I'm more of a creator, more of a comedian, talker type, but it's funny as hell that I can't hammer a nail and without hurting my thumb or hurting myself. So that's real fun to make fun of yourself that I'm not real handy. But listen, you know what I am good at? I am good at talking about the Detroit Lions, and I'm loving it 1 week out. The Detroit Lions are entering one of their biggest drafts in their franchise history. I think that everything's in place. The one thing that you can feel comfortable with Brad Holmes is that he maneuvers the draft in a way where that they got 3 guys at every position that they know can potentially – there have to be 20 guys that fit what this Detroit football team is all about in terms of grit, loving football, talent. So this is Brad Holmes' Super Bowl. This is his time to shine. And he steps up and he's able to, yes, he's had some misses, but by and large, he stacked this football team with some young talent. And it's a big draft because I do think that the next wave of the Detroit Lions starts with the 2025 draft. So it's very key that you're going to start, and like some great reporters have started to talk about, you're going to start to need to replace some of these older vets that have been leaders. And with the money situation and the cap coming due with all these great players needing some high contract, it's very important that, several of these 7 picks hit and are able to develop in this system. But by and large, Brad Holmes has over a 50% hit rate. So it's pretty good. I'm excited because the fan base, I think, now is ready to focus. The offseason, has been light in free agency. Now the fans are ready to tune into who this team picks, and it's an exciting time for sure.
Yeah, hey, I want to throw out there, Doc, you brought up kind of the new this draft is going to be kind of that next massive draft class to keep this Lions team relevant over the next 5-6 years. The big kind of thing that came out about that was the Jameson Williams news. And, there was reporters and people putting out there like, hey, keep an eye on this, that this is a real option that they might end up doing. Where do you stand on that? Do you see Jameson Williams getting moved at all this offseason? And then 2, do you see them kind of taking a wide receiver, whether they move JMO or not? Do you see them going wide receiver in the first 2 rounds or even the first round with Matthew Golden as reported?
Yeah, no, listen, there's some great reporters that, I have no problem with Mike reflecting that.
That was a great job.
Listen, there's ways of potentially doing that maybe differently, but I would look at it and I would be surprised if the Lions traded Jameson Williams. I mean, so the headline is a little bit off in regards to, I think we've written it and talked about it. I talked about it with Jeff. I said, hey, do we think that the Lions could take an offensive skill position? And that's from Dan Campbell saying we need to get younger. That's just being smart, knowing that you have a wide receiver on the roster making $30 million a year. But guys, listen, your number one position on this football team is quarterback. And Jared Goff needs more weapons, not less. So what some reporters fail to do is they look at the singular idea of, oh, the Lions brought in Matthew Golden. That means they're going to trade Jamison Williams. Well, there's so many layers that are beyond that. You could write that, but realistically, I don't think it's going to happen because you have the 5th-year option. So at step 1, Brad Holmes said, we're going to go ahead and pick that up. Now, what would it take to trade Jamison Williams? I mean, how far do you want to move up? The talent level in this draft doesn't kind of showcase that. You can get better edge rushers in later rounds too. You can get talented receivers in later rounds. There's some good ones. So I just think that what would that do to the locker room? What signal would that send to Jared Goff? What signal would that send to Amon-Ra St. Brown? You're not going to trade Jamison Williams. So it's an interesting thing to talk about and speculate about. But I think that everybody in the chat and all you guys would be quite shocked if the Detroit Lions were to trade Jamison Williams, because you have him under control. And for $15 million this year, that's a relatively inexpensive cost. For $15 million next year, his cap hit this year is so favorable, it's less than $6 million. So I just think that, look, from one guy that does the same job that he does, he did a good job of sparking interest and sparking debate and discussion realistically about Jamison's future. But he's not getting traded this year. The question mark is going to be this offseason, not the one that's just going on. Next year, I think is more realistic to talk about Jamison Williams' future. You need him this year in a Super Bowl window. So Mike did a good job of sparking debate, but I'll say this. I'm not going to throw shots at Mike, but he also is heavy on the speculation. And if you read him, you'd be a very sad reader, because he told you guys that Ben Johnson was going to not leave. And he was definitely he definitely champions a lot of wrong positions in his work. So it's interesting. It's fun, but he does have quite the bit of the miss rate as well.
Hey, Doc, something that I've been finding kind of interesting, especially recently, the Lions, again, they hold the 28th overall pick right now, and then they got the 60th in the second round. They've been interviewing a lot of defensive line, brought in Derek Harmon, Tyleek Williams. They've met with Darius Alexander when I believe was at the combine, could have been like a top 30 visit, whatever. They've met with Darius Alexander, Deion Walker. When do you think they approach the interior of the defensive line? Do you think it's going to be early on, or do you think they have a guy that they're sitting back in the middle of the draft to go and get?
Yeah, no, the betting favorites, I did a story maybe last week as well regarding what positions they should go with each round. To me, it's my opinion that they could go defensive tackle in the second round. Might be a great spot after you go and target an edge rusher or an offensive lineman. I do think it's going to be early. There's some really good ones, and there's opportunities that people really do like along the interior. I love the fact that people are looking at it realistically and saying, okay, DJ Reader's future in town is in question because he's getting a little bit older, Aleem McNeil. But there's definitely some good defensive tackles that could fit the Lions. A lot of people are looking at Walter Nolan, who got up 27 on the bench. Derek Harmon, I do think, is a potential fit for the Detroit Lions. Definitely Brad Holmes has seen a lot of Oregon and what they can do. If you're looking a little bit later, you could look at a couple guys down south. I've watched film on TJ Sanders and Joshua Farmer. Sanders out of South Carolina, 6'4", about 300 pounds. I think that, he's a guy that has been able to be an powerful interior defender, can be on the field 3 downs. Joshua Farmer from Florida State. I think that his size is definitely unique at 6'3", 305, 310 pounds, and can be, look, I think the key that we're all going to look for, and if you guys watch film and you look at these talented players, the key that you're going to want is somebody that can stuff the run, because I do think that they're going to collapse the pocket and have opportunities on the edges. So there's opportunities galore, and people will look at the idea of some, maybe the guys from Michigan as well. But it's a good class to kind of restock. And then plus, you do have Roy Lopez, but I do think competition at that spot will definitely be key. And it's not coming from Roderick Martin, no doubt. I just think that you go in the draft and you find some talent. I do think that, if you read the other story that kind of got some buzz on our site, 4 Lions that potentially might not be here, Broderick's on that list.
Yeah, Doc, I asked you this before weeks ago, but now that we're, again, 8 days away, you I mean, Christian put out the article for questions, important, which I think they all should be asked, to be fair. They're all great questions. One of them was more likely moving up or moving back. We had an overreaction show on Monday, and I said overreaction. I don't think the Lions will pick in the first round. And Boone said they'll have 2 first-round picks. They'll trade back into the first round. Where are you at? What's a feeling you have right now?
Mm-hmm. And the reason why, which is always good, when you see those kind of what questions are asked, I'll let your people in the chat know early. It's going to be Thursday morning, right at the start of the day, I can't tell you the specific time, but let's say most Americans work from this time to this time. That first starting time is going to be when Brad Holmes talks on Thursday morning. So get ready. I will be there early, and Brad will answer questions. And if you guys have some questions you want to throw out there that I should ask Brad directly, those are things that are going to be asked. His thoughts about the class, thoughts about Jameson Williams, thoughts about the spot. Here's the problem that kind of pokes holes at that theory of 2 first-round picks. It always makes sense, but here's the problem. When you're up against the cap and you got to pay people, it lends the opportunity. Then you get that 5th-year option where you got to pay a hefty price. And those first-round picks, those tend to kind of be the more heftier contracts. So I'm more leaning, my opinion, humbly, is that they stay at 28 or they trade out. You have so many players you got to pay. The bill's coming due. And I'm of the opinion you are going to pay Jameson Williams. I mean, the man fits. I mean, he's talented. He's speedy. He is a guy that if they haven't moved on from him from all the suspensions and the off the field stuff, he's one of those guys. And it's just one of those deals where I think Lions fans kind of forget that. And it was always taught to me by scouts. And I worked with a great one, a hilarious one. And he said, look, draft picks are just they're just those employees that the boss love a little bit more than the undrafted. The first round picks, the second round picks, they get more leeway. They get more chances. Why? Because they have more talent. And I think Jameson's going to get probably starting, maybe not this year, but next year he'll get like 4 years, 80 million starting. And you go from there. You look at this football team, there's a lot of mouths to feed, and more first round picks make it tough. So I'm of the opinion, if you are as good as Brad Holmes is, you could get a talented wideout, talented cornerback, talented defensive ends later in the draft. So I'm not worried where they pick. Would it be anticlimactic? It would be to sit there all day and then at 28 they trade out. But I look at it, and the odds-on favorite to me is they stay at 28, and option B is to trade out.
Doc, I just want to ask, because and this is just kind of because I do think that there's a world that they're a little more aggressive than people think, just based off of, and I think it's to the point that you're making as well. These contracts are going to have to be paid, and say hypothetically, they don't pay Jameson Williams, and they maybe move on from one other guy. You do that because you want to be able to bring in some, maybe some more first or second round guys with that talent. Something you said earlier in the show, which kind of brings me back to this feels like one of those drafts that's going to kind of keep them moving forward. Like one of their first couple where they, you need to get guys in this draft, but to kind of keep pushing forward and contending. That's kind of my thought process. And can I just see why, like, is there a reason behind why you don't think they would based off of those theories? Because if you line those theories up to where if they walk away from JMO, they're going to want to add more draft picks to be able to replace them early on. Why not trade up and pay a first round guy, pay a second round guy on rookie deals instead of these guys on, you're going to have to sign 30, 35 million, 25 million. And I'm just trying to get clarification on why kind of on that side you would think that.
Yeah, no, you look at it from the perspective of who they've done the research on, and Jameson Williams has elite talent that it's hard to say that there's better players. There could be more affordable players, but again, that takes time. It took JMO almost a full year working with Jared Goff to develop that timing. John Morton's system's not easy to learn, and John Morton's going to be yelling at these young rookies. I've seen up front, up close at these practices where these young wide receivers sometimes struggle to line up properly, to be in the right spot. And so I look at it like this football team is, and I know conceptually people understand the value of the draft, but you also have to look at the starters that they're going to try to overcome. It's going to be pretty tough. Tim Patrick, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams, that's pretty formidable to try and crack to get some reps. And I look at it and I say, yes, there are opportunities to be aggressive in drafts, but this draft class is as a whole not viewed collectively as even as good as last year's. And so it's a weaker class, and you don't want to, just because you're in that spot, just take somebody. You want to have somebody that's a fit. You want to have somebody that can be in that spot. And I just don't think that you need to, with the level of talent that you're going to get at 15 versus what you can get in the second and third round and get some value and pay lesser price. So I just think that Jameson Williams and some of the talent you have still are still better. Like, look, I do think that the three positions you're going to look at, offensive line, linebacker, and safety, you're going to start to potentially look at replacements for maybe a Brian Branch if he leaves, a Graham Glasgow, and an Alex Anzalone. Those are going to be people, but at this point, not in 2025, in the coming years. So I just think that this year, the Lions value who's on the roster probably way, way more than any draft pick. And I know that that first pick at 28, everybody wants to be an impactful right now starter, but that might not be the case. The case may be, and it sucks because you just wish that there was, this is the byproduct of being a great football team, is that you're picking guys later that, may not have the impact right now. They may be guys that have impact in 26, 27, because I still think depth. I still think going into training camp, when I go out there and report live from Allen Park, I think defensive end one is Aiden, defensive end on the other side is Marcus Davenport. And the young guy coming in, if they take him at 28, is still going to have to work hard to get on the field. And I just think too that, draft picks are, even though Brad Holmes is great, they're still a crapshoot. You know what you have. Guys, remember, the Lions roster is pretty good, 15-win team, and the draft picks are going to supplement that, provide competition, and fill needs. But at this point in time, there's really only a couple where you actually need maybe someone quicker, and that's probably more. That's why I'm thinking, teasing a little bit, my final mock draft. We're going to have a whole bunch of them coming out at Lions on SI next week, but my final one will lean probably more toward an offensive lineman at 28.
Yeah, literally, Doc, my question was just going to be, can you give me your prediction for 28? If you want them to stay, that's your plan A. Right now, Doc, if we're doing a mock draft and your guy fell to you, who would that be?
Yeah, no doubt. I want an offensive lineman. I think that this football team operates in a manner. The last thing I saw, all right, guys, and last thing you all saw was Jared Goff on his ass getting rocked because the offensive line didn't play good enough. So it lends to me that you love Alabama. I love Tyler Booker, 6'5", 321, 2-year starter, terrific size. That's a solid guy. Gray Zabel, lot of talent, 6'6", 312, versatile, can play literally. The scouts and the film shows that guy can play every position along the offensive line. Last year, 90.4 PFF grade, 16 starts at left tackle, 17 at right, and 4 at left guard the last couple years. So you have opportunities to compete. You still got Donovan Jackson, who can make some noise as well. Later on, you may look at from Georgia or Arizona. People are looking at linemen that are very talented, but to me, I look at it like your biggest investment. And so most likely, as I'm spitballing with you guys, it's going to be, to me, Tyler Booker or Gray Zabel will be my final selection. Brad Holmes said, we want to make sure that garden of offensive line stays strong, and there's a little bit of weakness in that offensive line. So, yes, there are edge rushers. You need that. So I would go potentially, my next mock draft will probably go offensive line, edge rusher, defensive tackle in the first 3 picks. Because guess what? Jared needs as much help along that offensive line as humanly possible. You may need a backup center to also be out there if Frank Ragnow leaves. So it's important. And especially when your biggest investment is Jared Goff and $50 million, I'm of the opinion you protect that. And you still, and when Brad said, hey, we still got Aiden Hutchinson, I do believe that they believe if Marcus Davenport is better right now than any rookie will be. It stinks because I just wish that, they were still in the market for Trey Hendrickson or Myles Garrett or another big name proven guy to go for it. But the tea leaves say they're not.
Doc, like you just mentioned, they re-signed Marcus Davenport. Maybe not a move that Lions fans exactly wanted, but looking at Amik Robertson last year, terrible end of the season with the broken arm. But before that, especially at the end of the season, he finished very strong. What do you think the future is with Amik? Because we know Brad loves re-signing their own. When it comes to free agent, there's definitely more of a tendency to walk, and Amik does command a little bit of money. I don't think he's going to get paid Tre'Davious Ward money like he got paid this season, or DJ Reed, but Amik could definitely have a little bit of leverage to get teams to pay him. Do you think he's somebody that in the future he'll still be hanging around in Detroit, or do you think when his contract ends, they'll kind of have to part ways?
Yeah, no, it's going to really depend on how he does this year. I think that first year was a great indication. What a value, right? I think 2 years, $9 million or so. What a value in regards to what you get. A true competitor, somebody that is outgoing and passionate, can play nickel, can be outside for you, and can lock down if needed. A top guy. This is a guy that wants to prove he's a top guy. He wants to be an outside corner. It's going to be tough. I love the competition. I can't wait to see it between him, DJ Reed, and Terrion Arnold. But I love the fact that he has a chance to be the starting nickel cornerback. You want him on the field. He's an emotional leader, gritty guy. He's a guy that probably is going to make every player's job is to make the general manager's job a nightmare. And Amik Robertson will do that because he's going to command a contract that is going to be worthy of his talents, probably north of $10 million a year. And he may just have to be a casualty. That's why I do think there's going to be a cornerback drafted in this year. And that's why I was, the headline was Lions surprisingly take Hairston in Dane Brugler's mock draft, but I would not be surprised if the Lions target a cornerback because Carlton Davis was a player that was really solid and you let him go. DJ Reed is a good player, a good replacement. I do like what he brings to the table, but I do think you cannot have enough cornerbacks that can come in and do the job. And a guy that just really everybody likes that kind of is a Brad Holmes guy because of coming off the ACL, but Siobhan Ravel is interesting. 6'2", 194. He fits my criteria. Big, long, athletic. I think that he's a guy early on that can come in and be a special teams guy and help out and do some things. But that's a guy that I just really think is a Lion. And a lot of people like Trey Amos as well from Mississippi at 6'1". But to me, my draft crush at the cornerback spot is Siobhan Ravel. I like his tape. I liked watching it. I like all the things I'm reading. And, it stinks that he's coming off of the ACL, but he's ready. He's a go for the offseason program. So I'm excited. This last 3 weeks have been fun for me watching tape, digging in, and then reading a lot of the in-depth pieces. There's more than the big one out there. There's more than the beast. A lot of draft analysts put out some good rankings, some good content that if you spend a couple hours reading, you can get down the rabbit hole. But to me, my defensive back crush is Siobhan Ravel.
Well, Siobhan Ravel, ACL tear. Maybe it's a good thing, Doc. You never know.
I would lose my fucking mind.
Well,
in a bad way, you wouldn't like that? You wouldn't like that? Or
Doc, no.
Where at what pick, Doc?
No, second round, day 2. Opportunities there. I don't know where he's going to go. Maybe projected top 45 pick. Maybe it'll be tough for them there at 60, but we'll see. The draft, as we all think of those rankings, there's always variations of where people are expecting to go. I don't think he'll be a first round pick, but Hairston's also interesting. When you read what Dane Brugler wrote about him, very interesting opportunity, but I don't think they're going to go cornerback in the first round.
I've said it before. I'll break my laptop in half if they pick a corner.
Guys, remember, there's more than one pick. If Brad has earned the trust, if he makes a pick at wide out, I mean, the only 2 positions you would probably deserve really justifiably would be tight end or running back. You're
corner in the first round, Doc. After you introduce first round last,
if they find a guy that they believe. Listen, there are more picks than the day 1 pick. If they target a guy that they feel that can help this defense, then he's a guy that's probably has a chance. Now, I would see the skepticism. I would hear it from you guys because of the fact that, Terrion took a while to develop. It does take time to develop, but Brad Holmes has earned the credibility that if he targets a position that it is a position of need and they find the guy that they feel is the best at that spot, I'm okay with it. My only overreaction would be an offensive skill position, tight end, running back. I'd be like, I don't know. But listen, a cornerback in the first round could compete opposite of DJ Reed, could be an impact guy. Hey, remember, guys, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean made plays in the playoffs. So if the man Brad Holmes decides that's the spot, you should give him the benefit of the doubt, in my opinion. Well, do it. I don't think that's how the board is going to fall.
That's my biggest argument when people bring up, because the Lions are a great team. Okay, we all agree. But people say, well, your first 2 picks. I mean, we have to stop acting like this is the 3 years ago Lions. Like these guys might not even play much or might not, play much at all. You have a great team. The Eagles had a great team, and a rookie had a pick 6, a second-round pick in the Super Bowl. So I don't want to hear that. Like these picks are all important. It doesn't matter what round it is. If there's a spot where the player can play, trust me, on a biggest, you never know when that player will shine. Right. And there's question, and the chat was bringing up, and I want to bring it up just to ask your opinion. I saw Tyler and I saw Mark Royal also brought up Taylor Decker. And, Taylor, I think coming off the season he got some criticism. Again, there was games where he was fine. He was good. And then there were games where he struggled. And then he dealt with injury. So me and Booner were kind of on the same page with it. Klotzy's more thinking ahead and, potentially replacing him. But for you, Doc, when you draft an offensive lineman, I'm assuming you're talking about, like you mentioned, Tyler Booker, a guard. Would there be any consideration, at least in your mind, that maybe they go out and draft a tackle, or do you kind of like maybe Giovanni Manu playing tackle? I mean, where are you at? Is that something that's on your mind, Taylor Decker's future and him getting paid in that left tackle spot for Goff?
Yeah, a lot of options. That's why Gray Zabel probably is a big opportunity there to get him if he's available, because of the fact that he can play all the positions. But I think the leader in the clubhouse, plan-wise, would be probably draft an offensive lineman that can play, that could be the potential Taylor Decker replacement. But I think that by and large, if you just read the tea leaves, it makes sense that it's going to be probably at the right tackle spot, because the most valuable spot is the blind spot of the quarterback. So if that's going to be Jared Goff for the foreseeable future, and by all accounts, the next step for Jared is he's going to restructure his contract, which further ties the team to him for the next 3-4 years. You're going to get north of $40 million in cap relief. You're going to get a big chunk of money from restructuring Goff. But the only drawback is it makes sure that Goff is here for the next 4 or 5 years, which is not terrible. So if you do that, the next option would be to move Panay to the left side. That's a lock. He did it in college. He would be just fine, and Jared would sleep well at night. Now, the next question mark would be, okay, do you kick out Manu to the right side? Do you then have a player that you draft go out there and do it? So that's why I do think that Gray Zabel might end up being the name you hear getting read, because you want opportunities. I do think that 25 might be the opportunity where it's Taylor Decker's last year. And look, it's just the way it is. But if Taylor Decker can rebound, listen, he's going to be good for 2025, but yeah, he does have to have a much better year. I think, injuries always, as you get older, not overt, but nagging injuries can affect your play. And he had an up and down year. And I think he could be better than he was in 24. And I fully expect it. But I do think that, the succession plan is coming soon, and it starts with step 1. That's mahogany. Step 2 is going to be the draft pick, and you get free agency to potentially fill holes next year as well. But yeah, offensive line, very key. And I think that is probably the position that we should have highlighted a little bit more than edge rusher, because edge rusher is important, but keeping Jared Goff upright, supremely important, just based on the investment.
Fair enough. I do want to bring up something we're probably going to see maybe in the next week or so, Doc. Is Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph extension. Do you think those get done? We saw last year, the week of the draft, we saw Panay, Jared, and Amon-Ra all get done essentially in that 7-day span, it felt like, leading up to the NFL draft. Do you see Kirby and Hutch getting done by next Thursday?
Yeah, that's as you said that, as you were talking about contracts, you just kind of foreshadow when things are going to start dropping. I foreshadow probably the news of Jameson's 5th-year extension dropping. I need it spaced out a little bit because the draft is coming, but I hope that the news breaks over the weekend as opposed to tomorrow, because tomorrow we have our slate of content that we want to write about, including Brad Holmes and what he says. But listen, those kind of deals where you're going north of north of $20 million. And by all accounts, Kirby's going to be the highest paid. It's going to take time. And I do think that he's going to have opportunities to probably take his time to negotiate it. There's fine points. I don't know. I think that this opportunity might take its time to maybe happen in regards to the offseason program starts. You get rookie mini camp. I would say by training camp, I would start to maybe project that it happens. Could be sooner, but these deals, I expect Kirby Joseph to get $22 million north of that per year, and he'll be the highest paid, and Aiden will get 40. And I do think that those kind of deals will get done. The timing is always going to be unique, right? Because some have been right like around this time, some have been around the time of training camp. So it's going to be fun to see the timing of when it does take place. But listen, it's a good problem to have. If you're Kirby Joseph, I think that if you see him out there hunting deer and having a good time, I don't think he's worried about his contract. I think he knows what he's put on tape, and we'll actually get more clarity tomorrow. I'm sure someone might ask, how close are you to agreements? But Brad doesn't really like to talk about it too much in terms of he always likes to keep that kind of stuff in house. But it's just speculating at this point in time, because that's one thing that the agents don't like talking about is how they're negotiating with the Lions. They keep that super tight-lipped, and I foreshadow that once those guys ink their names, to the second that they ink and agree to a contract, that news will come out, and it'll be good news. And I do think that priority one, I think the order will be Kirby first, then Aiden, because Aiden's going to command double what Kirby does.
Yeah, I agree with you, Doc. Kirby and Aiden Hutchinson, they need to be paid immediately, ASAP if you can, but somebody who's going to be paid, in my opinion, not due yet, but Sam Laporta. When you look at what happened to Sam Laporta last year, he was banged up, especially in the beginning of the season, finished pretty strong, but he still finished with 10 touchdowns. But you could watch Sam Laporta and tell, hey, he's not healthy. What do you think the chemistry is going to be between Laporta and John Morton, the new offensive coordinator? Do you think Sam Laporta is going to be on that same streak that he was before as far as just a consistent target? Or do you think that maybe his production could drop a little bit given a different type of system?
Yeah, no, I was generally surprised. Yes, he was dealing with injury. It was an interesting second year, not the one that we expected, right? We expect him to kind of take a big leap. Usually you see the talent, no bigger improvement than from year 2 to year, their offseason after their rookie year. It didn't happen because of injury. And I think the offense went a different direction because Jahmyr Gibbs emerged. But I think one of the things that if you gave Ben Johnson some cocktails and said, hey, what's one regret you have? I think he'd say, I didn't put Sam Laporta in the best position in 2024. I think this year, if you're wise, if you're John Morton, the quarterback's best friend is the tight end. And that guy does not need to be taking the brunt of the blocking. And I know that Dan Campbell and the offense loves blocking tight ends, but that's kind of Brock Wright's job. That's Kenny Yeboah's job. Sam's job is get out in the flats and make those catches, make the fantasy owners happy. I expect a big rebound. I expect north of 10 touchdowns and him to kind of get some more targets. And I would, like I said, I expect big production. I expect over 70 catches and north of 600 yards and north of 10 touchdowns for a supremely talented tight end. You did not bring him here to block for David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You brought him here because he can do it all, but his biggest asset is third down situations, moving the chains, and being an offensive target. And sometimes, the coverage will dictate that he doesn't get as many targets, but I think John Morton's first thing that you'll notice is different is that he targets Sam Laporta a lot more.
Doc, and I'm going to ask you, because we broke it down yesterday. I hate the idea of Jalen Ramsey in a Lions uniform. Your thoughts, Doc? I want the Doc. I want the truth from the Doc. All right. Yeah, what do you think?
I wrote on it. You can check my opinions. You can see
it was a great article, but I disagree.
Great ideas there. But I think that my final formulation is you do not want Jalen Ramsey on this team. He's a bad fit character-wise, not a good locker room guy, per people who tell me about how he conducts business. not good for the media and not good. North of 30 years old. I think the safety position, and plus just based on what's happened from the time he was with the Rams to the Dolphins, he's been a kind of a guy that, in my opinion, paycheck player, took the money and did not develop into what he could have been had he been a little bit more gritty. He's not, if you talk about the Dan Campbell index, he's a -40. So not a good fit. If he's a member of the Lions, I'll be shocked. I'll come out here and apologize that I don't know what I'm doing, but there is no way Jalen Ramsey will be a member of the Detroit Lions roster. If they do any sort of research, they'll find out pretty quickly. Not the best guy. And he's one of those guys. He's on the Nico plan, which is he makes a great touchdown. He's going to ask to renegotiate his contract. So he's a guy that's all about the money, all about the business, and all about Jalen Ramsey. And I don't think you need that in this line of work. And I just don't think that the Lions want a guy making north of $20 million as a safety when you can get one in the draft more affordably. And you're going to have two great safeties already in Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, and you get another one in the draft. Jalen Ramsey, thumbs down.
Hey, this is a random question because there really hasn't been that much conversation on it. But some reason today I ran across one of his highlights. But Hendon Hooker, where do you see this situation with Hendon Hooker going heading into this year? I know we talked about it maybe a little while back, maybe about a month ago. Do you see there being any update in him kind of potentially, especially with the draft right around the corner, him being maybe involved in a trade? Or they kind of look to add another backup as well as I'm drawing a blank on
Kyle Allen. You're talking
Kyle.
about, yeah.
Yeah. Do you see something happen though there with Hendon Hooker?
Yeah. Here's the thing, and it's fun to do that speculation as well. I just don't think that he's got enough experience that the Saints would want him over somebody else, over a draft pick. So I love the idea. I'm the one championing it online. I'm like, yeah, trade him, get something. But the wise people out there are right. You're not going to get a 3rd rounder for him. I'm trying to get a 4th rounder for him. In my projection, when I talked about and wrote about and speculated about him going to the Saints, but realistically, I think he's a Lion. I think and here's the beauty of football. And I think you guys are kind of thinking in the same way I do. If it was me, I would be out there in front of the media and being like, I want to be a starter. Like, I want to go somewhere. Let me go. I've learned from, I'd be out there on a podcast. I'd probably come on this podcast and be like, I want to start. And that's kind of, I was thinking about a question for Brad. I don't think I can word it and phrase it in a way where he's going to give a real answer. But my question is to Brad, how much does Hendon talk about wanting to be a starter? Like, it just feels like he's a backup. He knows he's a backup. He's taken the backup job. Like, I would be a disruptor. Like, I didn't want to be a average podcaster that did a podcast and then have it canceled. I think like some of the guys that started a Lions podcast stopped doing it, which is weird because this is the most interesting time to talk about the Lions. I want to do more. And my schedule just only lets me do it once or twice a week. There's guys that are doing it 5 times a week. There's some guys that started a Lions podcast and stopped doing it. I don't know. Did they lose their viewership? I would be a disruptor. I'd be like, I want to start. I want to be I want to compete for Jared's job. I want to be out there. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be a player that plays in the National Football League. And after 2 years, you would think that he's got enough to at least start to kind of be a little bit more disruptive. I do think he's hungry to be a starting NFL quarterback. I just don't know if he's got the tools and experience yet. We don't get to see a lot. We just get to see him stretching and early warm-up tosses. But I do think that realistically, outside of being a disruptor and the natural competitive juices that he would have, he probably needs one more year this year with John Morton, learning the offense, learning more about the nuances of an offense. Now, I think the first couple years, you get the terminology, you get the positioning of where the receivers need to go, you get the idea of commanding an offense. Now, this year, it's more about, okay, when you see this, hey, some advanced level processing starts to happen. Like, okay, if Amon-Ra's here in the slot and you see single high safety, when do you shift his motion over here to get him more open? Or when do you go to Laporta in different spots? So some next level development can happen this year. And I do think that Hendon Hooker probably his last year in Detroit is this year. And then if he's a competitor, he's going to need to be like, hey, I don't want to be here. I'm not sitting behind Jared Goff for the next 5 years. He needs to kind of want to disrupt and get after it and be somebody that can start. And I do think he'll get an opportunity, not in Detroit, but I do think that the quarterback position, you got to remember too, in watching other quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers developed, I think, 3 years sitting behind Brett Favre. And Hendon Hooker is one of those guys. I just think that he's the prototypical backup. But I just think that his mindset needs to be, I need to take a huge step forward in 2025. I would love to trade him, but I don't think no general manager that really wants to keep his job is going to give up anything worthwhile more than a 5th or 6th round pick. And that makes the trade null and void because you drafted him with the 3rd round pick. So I think basically long-winded, he holds the clipboard, but this has to be a productive clipboard year because your time in the NFL is short. You need an opportunity to get out there. And maybe the opportunity presents itself if a team gets an injury in the offseason or training camp. Maybe Hendon Hooker ends up not being here, but I expect him to hold the clipboard and be the number 2 this year, all year long. I don't see no veteran coming in. I think that Hendon gets the nod. Otherwise, you have told everybody you made a bad pick in a developmental quarterback. That's not a good sign.
And Doc, with Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen, Jared Goff, they got depth there. Somewhere where the team is lacking depth for sure is that safety spot. And I look at the Lions right now. They brought in Andrew Makuba, Jonas Sanker out of Virginia. Where do you think and who do you think they kind of bring in with that depth spot? Because I know they have Avonte Maddox, who's a nickel that can play safety, but I would imagine they try to keep him just as depth at that cornerback room. Could throw him at safety. But where do you think and who do you think they get behind Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch this year?
Yeah, I think a lot of my colleagues, which is interesting, Christian's really a big fan of Nick Emmanwori from South Carolina, 6'3", 220. Real interesting prospect, could be there. I don't think Malachi Starks will be there at 28. A player to watch that many people thought was on the level of a Travis Hunter was Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. People like his speed. They like what he can do. He was a consensus All-American the last couple years. And he, I believe, let me look real fast, tied for 2nd in interceptions last year with 6. So that's a ball hawk. So pay attention to him. And then the other name too, because definitely Brad Holmes likes the South, Andrew Mukaba is a player that could be targeted. But I like really, in my opinion, I like the opportunity to draft a safety in this draft and get somebody to have experience because you have safeties, but they don't have experience. So I like Xavier Watts as the draft crush there to be somebody that could be ball hawk. That's real nice because it's tough. And that's the question that is going to be real interesting because in the model of you can't pay everybody, do you keep Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph? Because it lends to me that Kirby is the dominant safety because of his turnovers. Brian Branch kind of had some discipline problems last year. And I was a little bit surprised at that, at the repeated discipline, uncalled for, unsportsmanlike penalties that he took, the fines that he took. He needs to take a step up this year. I think he will, but it's very rare that teams are going to pay 2 high-end safeties north of $20 million. So to me right now, the leader in the clubhouse of keeping and staying is priority 1 is Kirby, then Brian Branch. But I do think that if Brian Branch has an opportunity to boost his stock even further, good player. I'm not saying I'm not down on Brian Branch, but in terms of if he's a guy that's going to want to break the bank, it's going to be tough. And I look at it right now like Kirby, the interceptions, the ball hawk, the physicality, the way he embraces the game, that's a Detroit Lion. You pay him. Brian Branch got to show a little bit more. And so it's a player, I would say day 2, day 3 at the safety spot, you could find some real good depth and talent.
Doc, we were talking about it earlier, but the game 3 of the Pistons Knicks series, first game in LCA, is on the same freaking night as the first round of the NFL draft, which, that's going to be interesting for Lions fans attending that game because everyone in that place will be a Lions fan. But what do you think of that predicament, I guess, for local media when you have the biggest event in sports besides the Super Bowl, and then you have the Pistons in a playoff series?
Yeah. Listen, here's what I'm going to tell everybody to do. Just have your phone, have your laptop, at Lions on SI and on Twitter. Have it ready. And look, the draft is a fun experience, but here's the perfect part. The Lions, if they stay at 28, are going to be drafting like at 11. So the game should be wrapping up by the time the Lions pick. So you're going to have most of your news. So nowadays, I mean, most people, don't you watch with a big TV and then with a laptop in hand? That's how you do it. And you focus on both. But I think that it stinks that's how it played out, but it's the Pistons in the postseason, hopefully up 2-0 or at worst 1-1 coming back to town. You cheer those people. You give them the respect for having gotten back to the postseason. Look, you can DVR the whole draft if you want to get because all it is a bunch of hugging and talking about, it's not that interesting. Oh, the work, all the hard work I did, and I'm going to be working hard to make my team great. The only thing you want to pay attention to is if the Lions make a trade, but I doubt it. So I think you're free and clear to be able to do both. So it is a dilemma. Vito's going to write about it tomorrow. I can't wait to see his spin on the dilemma, but it is of course, in a time when we want all the attention on the Lions. I beg of you, chat, follow Lions on SI right up until from 7 a.m. up until 8 p.m. Then watch the Pistons and then keep your Twitter open for alerts from the guys here broadcasting and everything like that as they go through it. But I was like, when I saw the schedule, it is one of those deals where you're like, no, listen, the draft is, listen, Benji, that's awesome that you love the draft that much. I'm of the opinion, I've watched them now 15 years, 7 covering it. It gets boring. It's just, hey, here you write it down. You know who the opponents are going to get. You kind of have a feel. You look for the trades. You look for the shock. I definitely want to see where Travis goes and how far Shedeur drops. Sure, but it doesn't rank higher than the local team that's playing the Knicks. So that's my opinion. So how I'll do it. I will be at Allen Park. I'll have the big screen up with the draft that they provide us, and I'll have my phone keeping up to date with the Pistons and following along as well and cheering and hoping that the Detroit Pistons take out the New York Knicks and the overrated Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah. No, go on, Boo.
No, I want to throw out there. I want to ask you, do you have a prediction of what you think happens in this series? Do you think Cade and those guys can pull off a series win over the New York Knicks?
Yeah, well, I can't, as a professional, say that. It would come off like a fan. I'm cheering. I'm thankful this basketball team took this step. On the podcast, I think me and Adam picked the Knicks in 7. And here's why. Not based on talent. I'm a pessimist, and I think the officials are going to take the Pistons out of their game. They are not going to. Now, if the officials swallow the whistle and act like professionals and let the Pistons bump and play physical and get rebounds in New York, then it's a different story. I'm of the opinion that the league is wanting the Knicks and their high ratings to be a prevalent kind of squad, and they're going to want they're going to have official games where they're going to just mess around with the Pistons. And so I think it's going to go 6-7 games. Going to be I'm looking forward to Cade Cunningham with a couple game-winning shots, opportunities, competitiveness. I see a competitive series. I just don't know if a young basketball team in a game 7 on the road in New York, could they handle that? I hope I'm wrong, but I'm of the opinion that it's the first time you gain the experience. But I think that basketball kind of dictates that the higher seed typically wins in a series like this. But hey, if there are opportunities, it's not a foregone conclusion. Cade could emerge. The Knicks had a clear problem stopping him. 3 of the 4 games, he definitely played very, very well. Isaiah Stewart is an outlier, a key figure. What he can do if he can, provide some physicality. I think the key naturally is going to be who's going to stop the 2 big scorers for the Knicks and what way in which the officials are going to take this game. But clearly, simple. This series goes as Beasley and Tobias go. Their 3 start falling. Look out. Pistons can be lethal and make some noise because Cade is going to get average probably 24 or more. So it's going to be a fun series all the way through. And it's going to be it's great. The Pistons deserve it. I can't wait to watch it. I just think right now, officially as a professional, I would go Knicks in 7.
Hey,
and switching gears. Oh, go ahead.
No, go on, Klotzy. Go on, Klotz.
I would say, Doc, real quick, just before you get out of here, the Tigers just wrapped up against the Brewers, struggle a little bit. They're going into Minnesota to play the Twins, or no, they're playing the Royals. When you look at that last stretch of games, specifically with Riley Green, what do you make of that? Because he's really been struggling over the last couple of games.
Yeah, his swing is too long, right? Long, overarching swing, got in a slump. I was surprised. Tony Paul came at me and was like, not badly. I said the offense was playing a little bit better. They had 9 runs before, and they looked good to start of the series against the Brewers. And then they went to a big stretch where the power went out. And then I said, hey, what's going on with the Tigers offense? And he's like, right there, which is always great when people respond that you respect. He's like, well, quite simply, the offense is not that good. I disagree. And I didn't go back and forth with him because I just was not in the mood for that. But I think that Spencer Torkelson has been a great surprise. Kerry Carpenter has been a surprise. I do think that Riley Green, and look, Javi Baez, breaking news. There's been a sign of life in Javi Baez.
Yeah.
He hasn't been a complete waste of space. That's a blessing. We should all applaud. Hey, breaking news. Javi had a good week. That's a win. But Riley Green struggling is also a downer. And to see the pitching not handle, I was a little bit surprised that they lost the Brewers series. I thought that they would have won 2 out of 3. But look, it's baseball. It happens. Long season. I expect Riley Green to get it back. And it's one of those situations in which once you've been around the league a little bit, you get pitched a little bit differently, and he's got to find his pitch. That's what the one thing is in baseball. You can see it. When you start pressing, you start not being disciplined, and you start swinging at pitches outside the zone. And what you got to do is you got to just work the count in your favor, more 2-1 counts, 3-1 counts, where you're going to get a clear fastball and he can get around it. But right now he's struggling a little bit early. I don't foreshadow it to be too long. 10-8, it's fine. You want to be around 500, but you got to rebound after a lost series coming back home. 10 games at home. I expect 7-3 at worst this next homestand.
Love it. Good stuff, Doc. We appreciate you as always, man. Have a great weekend. And next week's big week. A lot of stuff covered by Sports Illustrated, which you guys can check out. Got the draft coming up. He'll be crushing Christian, Vito. But until next Wednesday, which is going to be a huge show with you, Doc.
Yes.
Right before the draft. We will catch you. We love you.
Yes.
Please. What time's Brad tomorrow? So Brad is tomorrow?
I'm not at liberty to disclose, but let's take a hint. People start their job at a certain time. The hardworking folks, working to 5.
Yeah.
Technically,
9 to 5.
get it?
Yeah.
All right. So at the start of a traditional workday is when potentially Brad will speak to the media.
You just told us, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. 9 a.m. 9 a.m.
I was going to say just text us and let us know.
Yeah. No, listen, it's Wednesday night. What are they going to do? Tell you, look, it's Thursday at 9 a.m. Brad Holmes, please come to the podium. And look, I'll say this on that whole deal with the baseball. Baseball is supposed to be fun. Sports are fun. And guys that have the opportunity to talk to fans, if the lady was uncomfortable, then it's wrong. But let's have some fun with baseball. It's Atlanta. It's sideline reporting. It's not that serious. You got the sideline reporter lady here eating hamburgers, talking to fans, Johnny Kane interviewing family members. It's a lighthearted thing. It's not a big deal. I joke around. Masculinity is not toxic. We are guys, and guys need to be guys. And so read this book. It's really good because he foreshadowed it before the cancel culture.
It's come full circle. Circle.
Adam Carolla said, this culture has provided the opportunity for men to be weaker. And so before I get out of here, I need to know, I'm of the persuasion I cannot change a tire. Can you 3 change a tire? Are you handy? Yes or no? Can you change a tire?
Yes, I have before.
In my spare time, Doc, I work at Discount Tire. So yes.
Good.
There it is.
Good. So I like it. I'll be the weak-minded, pay someone to do all the repairs. And so let's just keep it like this. Be masculine, be strong. Boys will be boys, and it's a great thing. See you, fellas.
There you go.
Love the Doc.
The Doc.
John Maakaron joining the program. Indeed, can change a tire. What a way to just end the show, end the segment there. I mean, that is incredible.
Full circle.
Well, Klotzy
the tire changer.
Well, we have we have a guy today. Wasn't able to get to it yesterday, so we're getting into it today. And you have a very interesting player, and I'm excited for you to break him down. So tell me about the man you chose today.
We got a guy.
Darius Alexander. Who is
Come
this
on
man?
now. We got some action. We have some action finally, boys. And I just wanted to say this before anything. I apologize. Okay. I'm sorry. Because as a 419 local, I knew who Darius Alexander was. And I knew that he was going to the NFL. Knew that he was going to be solid. But I never really took a deep dive into Darius Alexander film. And boys, today, I decided to do just that. 6'4", 310 pounds, a fucking dog. Okay, Jeff, if you could pull up the Senior Bowl highlights if you could in your spare time. But boys, I'm going to tell you something. Darius Alexander, I know he went to Toledo. I know it's a smaller school. Happens to be the same school that just put out Quinyon Mitchell. And if you look at the NFL world, like GMs, and you do your research on Darius Alexander, they love him. Daniel Jeremiah, a guy that is very respected. When it was kind of like March area, he had Darius Alexander going 26 overall to the LA Rams. So this is a guy that if you watch him here against Josh Connerly, on the outside as an edge, he's struggling. But watch when he's inside. He abuses interior offensive linemen because he's 6'4", 310 pounds. But this guy is so twitchy. That's Ariante Ursi throwing him to the ground. He just goes through. He's an explosive athlete. And then, Jeff, if you could pull up in a second the actual game film of Darius Alexander, boys, there's nothing this man cannot do on the defensive line. And I can understand where it's like, oh, he's a tweener. He's not a tweener. He is just a fucking football player. He's got a high motor at 6'4", 310 pounds. There's I can't remember the guy's name who comes out with the list, but it's the freaks list where it's like when you have certain measurables at certain size, it's like a big thing where it's like these guys shouldn't be able to move like this. Like these are just genetic freaks. Hit play, Jeff. This play right here. Drop him in the coverage. He's going to hurdle a running back right here and take it back for 6. Athleticism, check. Size, check. Improvement, check. The reason why Darius Alexander wasn't able to kind of transfer anywhere and why he's at Toledo is because he was a late bloomer. But when he came on over the last 2 seasons, he's had 11 sacks, boys. And against the run, PFF is what it is. But for people who like PFF, against the run, 90 overall run grade. Like if you watch what Toledo does, it is around Darius Alexander. He is a game wrecker. He's somebody that can play all 3 downs. And like I said, boys, the film just doesn't lie. He's playing in the MAC, but he looks like he's an SEC type of defensive tackle going up against MAC offensive linemen. And the Lions have met with him. This is somebody that's on the radar. And I just think if you pair him, let's say you get him in the 2nd round, move up for him. You let him kind of rotate with DJ Reader. This is somebody that you put alongside Aleem. He is not DJ Reader as far as the build and what he does, but he is somebody that can clog the run game and go to the quarterback. And something else that the Lions love, Jeff pull it up, checks it out even more, the RAS score. Elite. Because when it wasn't for his 40 at the combine, but last year going into his senior season, he ran a 4.8 40. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, those guys run 4.8 40. So he's a physical specimen, like I said. But this is somebody that, like I said, we're not going to see him a lot in mock drafts, but the NFL world, this guy's going to be a top 50 pick. And normally when you see defensive tackle Toledo, they got a 3rd round guy. No, this guy's going to be somebody that we remember. I don't think he has huge upside as far as being Kenneth Grant or Mason Graham, but you can't tell me translating in a good situation that he can't be a guy that lasts a long time in the NFL. Not going to be a huge all-pro type of contender, but when you look at Aleem McNeil as a 3rd round pick, Darius Alexander definitely has some huge upside. So I love the value. And if the Lions were to take him, move up in the draft and get him, I would love it because like it says, he just goes to fucking work and you're not moving him in the run game. He's getting double teamed pretty much every time. If you go back and watch his film against Cal, fellas, which is pretty much their biggest game in their bowl game wreck. They did not know how to handle Darius Alexander. He's getting tip passes at the line of scrimmage. He's sacking the quarterback. He's throwing the running back into offensive tackles. They just could not stop him. So, boys, give the Detroit Lions some action. Bring Darius Alexander into this front 7. Pin him with Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader. Pair him with the boys, Mekhi Wingo, and you have a nice piece on this defensive line for the future. I love him. He's not Derek Harmon. He's not Walter Nolan. He's not Kenneth Grant. He's not Mason Graham. But I think he's like a step down from Tyleik Williams. That's where I view him as. And it's not far. Like, it's right there. It's like I would go Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, however you want to order them. That next step is like Tyleik Williams, TJ Sanders, Darius Alexander. And however you want to order them, that's fine. I would have them kind of in that tier 2, that second spot. Because when it comes to TJ Sanders, he doesn't sniff Darius Alexander against the run. Like, he's lights out against the run. There's not the same. Like, he can do everything. He just played at a smaller school.
Interesting.
I kind of like this dude, man.
It looks the film's there.
I've heard a lot about Darius Alexander. We went to the combine, so we got to see him up close, and a lot of guys like him. You know, he's going to be like one of those, could be early second round guys. You know what I mean? Early to mid second round for Darius Alexander. And I get 419 native.
Come on,
but the way he's built, is he more of a 3-tech? Like, kind of
That's
what?
like, he's built like a 3-tech, but he's so good at the run, they played him at a 0-tech. And then it's Toledo, so you don't have elite edge rushers. They put packages out there where they put him at the 5-tech, so where that Josh Pascal role. But in the NFL, at 6'4", 310 pounds, he's your perfect 3-tech. Like, he's quintessentially that, but he can stop the run, so you don't have to take him off the field. If you want to take him off the field for a play, let's say we're talking 2 years down the road, the Lions draft him. They have a guy like Roy Lopez. If you want to take Aleem or Darius Alexander off the field for a play, put Roy Lopez in there, that's fine. But you're not in a situation where it's 4th and 1, Darius Alexander's in there, and you're like, oh, no, he's not good to stop and run. No, he's somebody that can get back there because he's so quick off the line of scrimmage that he can get back there, make a play against the run. The thing that he's going to have to adjust to playing the MAC, he was bigger and stronger than everybody, especially in his last 2 years. So his pads, like his pad height and being able to come up, that's going to get him sometimes, but that's really the only thing that's stopping him. Probably like a year's worth of experience in the NFL, and this guy's going to be a polished football player that can contribute right now.
Klotz, you have a lot of defensive tackles in this draft early on.
There's a lot of them that I like, Boone, because I think in this draft, it's perfect for the Lions to take him either rounds 1 through 3. And it's somebody that's going to help now and in the future, because DJ Reader, he's not going to be here. I don't think they're going to be saying, hey, DJ Reader's a piece for the future. And the Lions, what are they built on defensively? Stopping the run. And especially in these first 2 rounds, there are a lot of guys who can stop the run, but also give you some bursts to get after the quarterback. And that's what the Lions need, able to put pressure on the quarterback. And in the interior, Jeff, you say it all the time. We talk about it all the time. There's no pressure that's more uncomfortable than interior pressure. And you have somebody, Aleem McNeil can do it. But we've seen now Aleem McNeil's been inconsistent with his health on the field. So if you can get a guy that could potentially down the road overshadow Aleem, and you let somebody else take double teams consistently and still be able to get to the quarterback, Aleem's one-on-ones, you have Aiden Hutchinson, another defensive end. There's no answers for that. So I just think defensive tackle in this draft is a strong point, and it's something that the Lions need now and in the future.
I mean, Nick P says if you drafted Darius Alexander round 2 and Michael Williams round 1, the run defense is locked down for you.
I mean, that's like a dream, right? Like, are they both going to be available in your 2 at 28? Like, will Michael be available at 28? Probably not. Well, Darius
Alexander will, but I feel like that's kind of rich.
Well, I'm saying,
like,
will he be there at 60 though?
Yeah, no, you don't.
That's what I'm saying. He's saying if you get both of them at 28 and 60. Michael might not be there at 28, and Darius Alexander might not be there at 60. So both of them are really like.
But to somehow end up with both, like
I mean, if they both fell, and you're like you leave the first 2 rounds with those guys, that's like a dream come true.
Like, really, I look at the Raiders sitting at the top of that second round. They got Max Crosby. Christian Wilkins was hurt. They got Malcolm Kuntz coming back here, boy Boone. If they can add another defensive tackle, that completes their defensive line with Darius Alexander. They go Tyleik Williams if they want somebody from a bigger school. But if Tyleik Williams goes, I'd be willing to bet that Darius Alexander goes before a guy like TJ Sanders, just because he's more well-rounded.
Space eaters, man. That's what you want. These dudes just eat, and not just that, but he can get after the quarterback a little bit. You know, I know he had 3.5 sacks, but still the pressure rate. I mean, he had 13% pressure rate. I mean, that's a higher grade than some of these other defensive tackles that are going to be in round 2. So you're getting a little bit of that juice too. I like it. Tyler says Alexander has defensive tackle traits. In Pascal, we have 3-4 DN traits. Yeah. I mean, Pascal, he's better than Pascal. I mean,
yeah, especially as a prospect. I know he played at a smaller school because think too, he had 3.5 sacks the year before. I believe he had like 7.5, whatever. He had 11 over the last year. So do that math. Once they figured out, Darius Alexander is a dude, who else are you worrying about on Toledo's defense? Like as far as wrecking a game. So they're game planning to stop Darius Alexander, and still he's just blowing guys up. He's wrecking games. So I think there's a lot of value in that.
And some of his best games were against some of the best opponents they faced. So I look at that too. You know, he stepped up in bigger games. Not that he's playing like Ohio State, but still, like he had his best game against Pitt.
Last bowl game, didn't really even have to play if he didn't want to. Last game of his career, went out there and balled the fuck out. Had the game of his life, honestly.
Mississippi State. I know Mississippi State, but still, like schools that are more known than Toledo, he played really well at. So, hey,
Maction. Hey, don't downgrade the Maction, man.
Yeah, the Mammy.
No, but you know how people will just tend to do it. Like again, you got Tyleek Williams there, or a guy from Toledo, Ohio State or Toledo. You're most likely going to lean just naturally to the guy that played at Ohio State.
Hey,
I agree with you though.
The most receiving yards in college football belongs to the man,
Harold,
not Nick
Bannon Jr., Bowling Green State tight end.
Yes.
Tight end.
Yes. The great. So don't sleep on any of those guys, man. Let's see here. Malik says, mailbag, who wins the race for the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft? The Saints, Cowboys, Dolphins, Browns, Giants, or Titans again?
I'm going Browns. I think it's bleak right now. I think that they're going to pass up on a quarterback. They're going to take a guy either late round 1, early round 2. He's going to be thrown to the wolves. You have no chance. The Browns, the only time they were relevant is when they went all in, got OBJ, Jarvis Landry, had one of the better offensive lines in football, and that's not the case. And Baker Mayfield got them a playoff when they shipped them. They have struggled on the offensive line, holes everywhere on defense. Jerry Jeudy's their wide receiver 1. Nick Chubb's gone. So their quarterback play, regardless of who it is going to be dog water. So
I think you could throw the Saints in there. I think.
Good.
Yeah, I'm going. My 2 would be Saints and Browns.
Yeah.
You know, the others won't have that. No. The Giants will probably have a top 10. These are all like top 10 fringe. Cowboys won't be in the top 10. Dolphins won't unless Tua goes down, and then Giants will win like I said. I mean, they'll be like top 10 maybe, but they'll win like 6 games. Titans, I think, will win like 6 games.
Yeah, I think the Titans, and those are like some teams where it's like you hate to be in those spots. Like if you're a fan, I mean, the Lions fans, we know that. Like we've been in those spots where you're winning like 6-7, and you're picking at like, I don't know, you're like on the fringe, and you're just.
I think Titans could be sneaky boys. Not as far as like, oh, they're going to win their division, but I think they got a worst to first type of team. Not saying that will be them, but I think Cam Ward like quietly will have a really good rookie year.
I think
He's
him
not
by
gonna
himself,
have Jaden Daniels.
He'll have a big impact on, you know, they won't have the number 1 pick.
I think they'll be like a 6-7 win team.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'm with you though, Boone. The Saints,
Cowboys will be back in the playoffs.
That's
too.
why the Saints are in an interesting predicament, because it's like if you're the Saints, it's like, do you pass on Jackson Dart and Shedeur, or do you take him? I mean, if you like him, you take him. But then what if next year it's like you can get Archie?
Yeah,
I mean, you can get Archie, and you can go out there and get the best quarterback.
It's a weird spot to be in
because back-to-back quarterback. It's like at that point, I mean, what do? You say no to Arch Manning?
But if you're the Saints, who's your quarterback? Like if Derek Carr's hurt,
Spencer Rattler.
Which
but you're not going a whole year with Spencer Rattler. Like
no, they'll probably sign like a, you know.
But like most guys, like Jameis signed already. Like you could bring him back there.
Yeah.
Like he signed.
The veteran that's floating out there is Kirk Cousins.
Ryan
what
Tannehill.
Division he have to be in? NFC South. Like if you're going to trade with the Falcons and you got to get a guy like Kirk Cousins, they're going to fuck you. So you're going to pay Kirk Cousins contract and a little bit more compensation.
I don't know. They're in like a weird spot. That GM is in a tough spot. Maybe they go quarterback in the 2nd round, so they don't have to stretch. And then if they're bad next year, they can still get someone.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such a weird. I don't know. Weird position to be in.
Yeah, it is.
I would hate to be a GM where you need a quarterback and you're in a bad draft class, knowing that we're in like this like lull of a situation in the franchise, especially like Kellen Moore. Like he probably wants his quarterback, but again, when you draft your quarterback and you commit to someone, like your clock starts kind of essentially. And you're sitting there and you're like, do you want to do that right away, year one, especially if you're not in love with the guy and you know the quarterback class next year is that much better and you're probably going to be picking higher than 9.
Yep.
But at the same time, year one, you don't want to go in there and be like, hey, boys, let's lose. Like,
yep.
Such
yeah,
a
everything you said is a real thing. Once you draft a quarterback, you're on the hot seat. Not the hot seat, but your clock.
Yeah, you're expected to develop that guy and you're expected to win with him. And
not too many people get 2 chances at drafting quarterbacks. It's just how it goes.
Well, Brian Dable.
Yeah, because he took. Did he take Daniel Jones? I don't know. I don't think he drafted.
No, I think that counts. Daniel Jones counts for him, though.
The only one that would be
they paid him after
with Rosen and Kyler.
I think Daniel Jones counts. I think it does.
Yeah. They didn't draft him, but they did pay him. I mean, the Cardinals did, but then the GM got fired. Like the next year, they drafted Kyler Murray, and then he got fired, so it didn't even matter. Steve Keim is his name. Well, hey, good show today, boys. Appreciate the doc. Did a great job today. We'll be back tomorrow. We got Klotzy's full first-round mock coming out. Can't wait to just absolutely shred that pieces. It'll be a lot of fun. It's must-see TV. But until then, much love to you all.
Love you guys. See ya.
Peace.
Peace.